right. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Face the Truth, everybody. I've got a really awesome guest this week. He is the creator, writer, and director of many popular digital series, including Honest Trailers, Man at Arms, The ScreenJunkies Show, and now has a new YouTube channel, Planet Popcorned, where he reviews movies, talks about movies, all kinds of fun things with fans and everything. It's pretty cool. But he's also had a pretty rough couple years. His life was totally turned upside down, and he's had to force himself a little bit to fight back and come back in a strong way, which is really awesome. So I really admire him for that, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But everyone, just please welcome Andy Signore.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is awesome because I've been I used to watch or listen to and watch movie fights all the time, and I loved it. I stopped watching it the moment you weren't on anymore.
Well, thank you.
Well, no, seriously, it was. I mean, I didn't really know at first anything that was happening. All I know is it was something really entertaining. You're an amazing host. Your voice is ridiculously awesome. You've got a very unique way of talking and getting people riled up and everything. And it was really entertaining. And I loved, to listen to that while I was working on my illustration works and deadlines. It kind of gets me through the day. And when I found that show, I went like on I just went back to the beginning and just started watching them all. It was a lot of fun. And then there was a break. I didn't know what was going on. The show was off. And then it came back and you weren't there and it wasn't as fun anymore. It was just, so I think I watched one or two and I was done. I was like,
Yeah, I stopped watching it too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. So, man, let's get into it. I want to let you go wherever you want with this stuff, but I mean, you went through some serious shit, and it's an important topic, and you started. What was the Kickstarter?
So the YouTube channel, I did a new channel called Popcorn Planet back in, it started actually last year before everyone knew. And I came back after accusations of sexual assault, abuse, and harassment is sort of what happened with Screen Junkies. I was doing great. Everything was happy, but I had personally been living a lie in that I was cheating on my wife at the time. And I was engaging in some relationships with my fans. Some people don't know about, some they do, and some that came forward just because they caught me flirting with them. And that wasn't really the biggest problem. The biggest problem was someone came forward and said I tried to assault her. And then someone else said I tried to, masturbate. And these two people were not being honest.
Yeah.
And those two sort of more abuse assault charges sort of then ballooned and whispered down the lane, sort of became multiple assaults. And everything sort of, no one cared about the actual facts. And I was in a place that weekend when the accusations came where I was talking to my, the company at the time I worked for and was told to not say anything. And we'll talk about it. Come in, we'll do an investigation. And so I was just sort of not responding. And then things kept ballooning out of place. And this person who kept saying I assaulted her just was hitting me hard that weekend. You clearly didn't follow when this happened, but she went on Twitter and for nonstop for about 3 or 4 days, just kept hitting me with anything she could find. And she was going out purposely knowing that I had flirted with fans. So she was using that because she had no evidence of her own to sort of show that, look, and I admit this is where I failed. Just I looked like a shitty person. And so that sort of, narrative was then spun. And then people who knew me were upset because that was a shitty thing I did. But it ballooned into something much more serious where it's like, really, that's no one's business. And it shouldn't have been ballooned into such a public spotlight. But because this was, twisted with these accusations of assault and abuse and alleged assault and attempt, all this stuff, it made things much harsher. And you got to remember, this was day 2 after Harvey Weinstein was sort of called out publicly by actual judge.
Oh, my God.
And so the whole Hollywood community was just like, whoa, oh, damn, what do we do? And then all of my colleagues were like, well, oh, my God, I didn't think it would be at my doorstep, too. I don't know what to do. We have to believe women, blah, blah, blah. And it was the early days of it all. So I was stuck in this tornado of I was living a lie and had to come clean with my family, which was, I don't want to get into those, obviously, personal details, but that obviously, mindset that was really tough. And I felt like a complete shithead. And then at the same time, I was like very defensive and angry because I'm like, well, this isn't true. Like, they're making it sound like I did all these horrendous things, like harassing my employees and shit. And none of that's true. Like, I was flirted with some of my fans. I misread, conversations and all that stuff. But what did I didn't do anything wrong. Beyond that, but then, at home, I'm realizing, well, I did do something wrong in my private life. And so it was a very complicated scenario and required me to I didn't want to just go on Twitter and just come forward and sort of, I wasn't equipped or prepared to sort of say everything. And legally, I didn't want to either because I was being told not to. And then when I got fired via press release, I got my own attorney, and then my attorney didn't want me to say anything. And so I had to live with this for 2 years while everyone I knew just sort of pushed me out of town and vilified me and went on the channel on air to condemn me without ever talking to me, which really still hurts my feelings a lot. I understand why they're upset, and I'm not trying to say I was completely innocent in everything I did. But my God, when they went on the channel and sort of made a statement and never talked to me, never once tried to get my side of things as a friend, I would never do that to somebody. I've learned now, you can't just jump into accusations without facts, or at least talking to a friend and saying, hey, what's going on? Is this real? But then condemn me. And then, it was sort of the last nail in the coffin, and I was just canceled and done, kicked to the curb. And so, I had a lot of personal things I had to figure out. I moved out of California. I had to move to Florida, got through a divorce, did a lot of stuff, personally, and then tried to rebuild my life offline and while angry and depressed. And, I was never at the point where I was suicidal. I refused to get myself that far over the edge because I have a kid, and there was no way I could. I just thank God I couldn't be that selfish to check out like that. But I was as close as you get without actually lifting up the razor or whatever. It was a really dark time.
Yeah.
And so I spent those months, and it took 2 years before finally we reached a settlement. And then I was finally given permission. Now you can go attack this accuser. You're fair game. Go do what you got to do. And I published a statement on YouTube, dropping the receipts, as they say, and it really caused a pause for a lot of people. And what was interesting is it was more of a conservative audience, and I was always sort of woke liberal Hollywood guy that a lot of conservatives didn't like. And so this switch made an interesting new audience and people who were more forgiving. And the left side and the mainstream media, they didn't want to report my story. They didn't want to have egg on their face. They didn't want to be well, crap, this looks like we jumped to conclusions calling him an abuser. It looks like he's got some pretty damning evidence here that was not true. And even my accuser made some BS statement labeling her truth. And I was ready for any of this to come out at any point. She sort of acknowledged it, but then didn't apologize. It was a very weird statement she made, and not only obviously helped my cause and made people more upset. And then that, fast forward, that's now I've been, it's been a couple months of now finally being able to get back online and have people defend me for once without people being afraid to, because they're wow, damn, we judged this guy too quickly. Yes, he made mistakes. He's apologized for those mistakes. Some of those mistakes are none of my friggin' business. But the punishment that I went through, I really don't believe the punishment fit the crime. I still don't believe it. You could call me whatever you want, but I know some of my colleagues still think I'm an enemy and awful, but they don't understand. They don't understand. Excuse me. They just don't understand how dark it got. And it's not to say I didn't deserve some reckoning of some of it, but no one. That's why I'm so passionate now. My mission now is to try and point out other stories of cancellation, because it's not okay. I don't want my accuser who lied and destroyed my life. I don't want to cancel her. I don't want to wish that on my worst enemy. It is literally the worst thing you can go through as a human being, to be just so stripped to the bottom and shamed publicly and just decimated and kicked while you're down. It's just shows the ugliness of our society, of just people who think they're doing the right thing, but have no idea about the collateral damage and the extent of how forever the charges are. You may think, oh, well, you still were abusing your power by flirting with fans. And there's arguments on both sides, and we can get into it. Feel free to follow up. And I'm just you asked to tell me the story.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to just spit it all out, and then you can reply and ask me what you want. But there are sort of two sides to, well, what did I really do wrong? You abused your power with your fans. And I have people who tell me, no, you didn't. Rock stars are allowed to sleep with fans. What's the point of getting power and fame if it doesn't, come with sort of attraction? A lot of women, that's what they want, and they're attracted to that, and that's how men sort of use it. And I could see parts of that argument. At the same time, people are well, no, they looked up to you, and you betrayed the trust of the fan by assuming they just wanted to sleep with you. And I could totally see that point. And so it's a complicated topic that I realize I have to take accountability for, clearly making some people feel uncomfortable. It was never my intent, though, to be malicious or seem like I was trying to take advantage or abuse or harass anybody. I misread things. My ego was not in check, and I made mistakes with women, and I feel bad about it, really genuinely do. At the same time, I don't believe anything I said to any of those women deserved my entire career and livelihood to be destroyed. And so that's why I'm still a little angry. And I think for some people that bothers them. And my victims, they say, "Oh, how dare you? I don't trust you still, but I flirted with you. I'm sorry. You got to let me move forward and let me still be able to do something in my life. It's been 2 years. I'm at rock bottom. I can't even pay my bills now. Like, how much more blood do you want? Like, just because they didn't know the full story, and the full story wasn't what they had. And so now I got to fight back, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm beyond just even my own story. I'm trying to use the spotlight I've gathered to fight for others. And that's why this new show I'm doing called Hugging the Cactus, where I'm trying to find other stories where people have been just canceled, either by actions that were wrong but didn't deserve the outcome, or people who didn't even do anything really wrong and just people misunderstood the case, where I can have more long, in-depth conversations and use my background in the past years of what that's like to really find common ground and share stories that I think really can help us all as a society to really figure out like what's so dangerous about cancel culture and where we are of just calling people out and judgment and all these terrible things.
Well, yeah, man, I totally agree 100%. I mean, from everything that I've known about the situations, you definitely you got it really hard. And it's way over extreme. I mean, I'm thinking even just like, I was a huge fan. I am a huge fan of Louis C.K. And it's just this whole cancel culture thing has gone way overboard, where everybody has to walk on eggshells constantly. I mean, even like Dave Chappelle's latest special, which is genius, one of the best living comedians of all time. He even jokes about he's probably going to get canceled after this episode. And of course, everyone's just slamming him because they don't get what he's talking about. It just goes over his head. But you talk about Louis C.K. thing, how like that completely just what happened to him. He actually came out, apologized, wrote this really nice letter, explained things to him. And yeah, it's weird what he did. But again, he's a person. He made a mistake. He apologized. And then everything's just he's not allowed to do comedy anymore. He's not allowed to have a life anymore. It's just weird. Like recently he went to he showed up at a comedy festival, I think on the East Coast up by New York. And everyone loved it. He did a great job. I heard from friends that were there. But then again, the media found out that he was there, and it's like to just start slamming and taking him down again. Like he's not allowed to do his art anymore. It's like what's going on here? This is insane. It's not, and it's funny. There are people out there, obviously, who like Weinstein, and that's intense, like Cosby, right? But like Louis C.K. is no Cosby. He made a mistake. He didn't like.
Well, it's interesting because I did a podcast recently and someone knew his accusers, and I got into it because my Louis C.K. is an interesting one because it's like I agree he should be able to have his career, and people should either have the right to just not go to his show or go to his show. Exactly. And that's that is the real core of it. But where Louis C.K. did mess up, Sarah Silverman made a joke about it on Stern, which I thought was just really funny. She's like, "Yeah, he asked if he wanted to masterrbate," and I said, "Hell's yeah, I want to see that." And and they did it. And a lot of people were like, he asked for permission. And I subscribe to that. Okay, it's weird, and I can think the guy's a creep, whatever. But whatever. He's asking, he's not whipping it out. But where the thing got complicated, if we're really being honest with each other as men and everybody else, you got to try and see both sides. He did it to women who were working for him or with him, who were lower than him. And it is a weird spot to put a man, a woman, anybody in when your boss or someone you look up to in that way, who's not interested in you in that way, suddenly throws, "Hey, want to watch me jerk off?" Yeah. Now, I think that is weird. I think it's something where it's like he shouldn't. We should get to a point where that's not just a normal question we should be able to ask each other. It is a little weird crossing the boundary. At the same time, I hope, if anything, the Me Too movement and everything has pushed us to a place where the woman can go, "No, that's gross. Go away." Yeah, exactly. And now suddenly they can actually have the power to like call him out to his face and be like, "You kidding me? No." But the problem was even there, and I think still to a point, Louis C.K., if that woman was like grossed out and called him out and said no, he could have done something to squash her career. And whether he did or not, there's a mental gymnastics you got to do as a woman in that situation where I can see where that situation was complicated.
Oh yeah.
And I think, he tried to address that, and I think he probably could have done a better job doing it. And the thing I credit him with, and I hope he still has time. He still has time. I don't want to judge the guy. I don't know the stories, but I hope he just does a special and lays it all out, because his comedy was so raw and honest and real. That's like I can't take him seriously until he actually falls on the sword and admits to the weird shit he did and why, and struggles with it, and then makes me laugh about it, because he can if he does it right. But he's got to be careful, and he's got to take some accountability still, because he did do something wrong. We can't just say, no, come on, Louis C.K. he didn't do anything. That's where I think the whole movement gets dangerous. And in my new conservative audience, they get mad at me because I want to hear both sides. And it's like, no, if you rush against the victim, you're just doing what you did against me. And it's like, it's both ways. You're canceling another person who, what if they are telling the truth? In my situation, I feel like I was lucky enough to have evidence and texts and emails that really tore apart her comments.
Yeah.
And so, it was easy for me to sort of come forward and say, well, look, in this instance, here's evidence. Here's fact that she's been lying to you. And I think those are important. That can change the side. It doesn't take the fact that, I still wasn't the best human being in the world, and people can still not like me for it. And that's their right as a people. But we have to figure out what are ways to give paths of redemption. What are ways to allow people to come back into society without this weird now new ghosting of just like so many people I used to work with. I have had some private back and forth. They're very brief. I've engaged and tried to apologize to a lot of people that are important to me, or were, to say, look, I just want to open up the door, say I'm sorry. I'm here if you want to talk. You don't have the story, but I understand I did some stupid stuff and put you in a weird spot. And I just, I'm sorry for that. At the same time, it'd be nice to talk again and figure out a way to work forward. And I've done that. And some people have at least replied and, done a fair thanks for that. Good to hear from you. I wish you the best. But none of them want to publicly endorse me, because they know that's going to put a target on their back, and someone out there is going to tell them, why are you supporting Andy? And to me, it's a very fascinating, and I'm watching it very carefully to see, who is going to take that chance? Who's going to finally show some loyalty and say, you know what, you were good to me. You did give me some stuff, and you've apologized. You've shown accountability. At a certain point, we have to be able to show that you're moving on. Sure, come on my show and tell me the truth. Let's talk about it. Let me ask you some tough questions. Like, that's where we need to be as a group. And I feel like the liberal media, especially in Hollywood, they don't want to go there. They don't want to take those risks. They don't want to take the chance. And here I am. To me, it's like anybody out there who has done something wrong. There are two ways you can handle it, right? You go everywhere. You go on a podcast. We don't know each other. I knew you because you reached out as a fan, and we talked. But you could sandbag me right now. You could try and screw me over and do it. Whatever. I have come as a person willing, ready to answer any questions, take any criticism. And I hope that as people start noticing that with me and others, if they're out there talking to outlets, any outlet, that tells you something. And if the other person's hiding behind saying, I'm moving on, I don't want to talk about it, and blocking anybody who engages them, read between the lines, guys, that there's clearly something is right and something's wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly, like, you made a lot of good points. Just even with the whole Louis thing, it's obviously there's two sides, and that's one reason why I wanted to have you on, is because, I knew something was going on, and I saw a statement a while ago that I think you wrote, on Facebook or something like that, and then recently I saw the video you came out and you explained some things, and it was very, very detailed and full of all the information and everything. It was very well done, but I just felt like it's important to have you on, for just the people that are listening to my podcast, just to hear your side of the story on all this, because this sounds like the basic thing here that is important to me is you're a person, you're a human being. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I think that, you're talking about the conservative and the left wing side and everything. I think that, I'm more of a liberal left wing type person. But to me, the way that everything is going right now with the Me Too thing and everything, the canceling people, and the way that the left wing media and just in general are handling it is just, it's a good thing. Obviously, before I say anything else, women should have the ability to come out and say, no, and this is wrong and this has happened, everything. I'm all for that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's sad and it's disgusting that it's taken this long for this even to kind of happen. But you can't just, go like so far left that you start becoming an insane person, and that everyone's just walking on eggshells, and you say one thing and your whole career is fucked. It's like, especially even like comedy. It's like, no, that's again, back to the Chappelle thing. I don't know if you saw his last special.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but there's a lot of things in there that he says, which, he's talking about, different, hot topics. You don't know if he actually believes what he's saying. He's a comedian. He's saying these things because he's trying to make you laugh. It doesn't mean that like if he makes a joke about killing babies and abortion, that doesn't mean he wants to kill babies, or you know what I mean? It's a joke. And people are not even getting that anymore when it comes to comedy. It's like they have a setup and a punchline, and they're bringing you somewhere. They're trying to let you relax and have a good time. And it seems like the far, far left is so far left now that they can't even enjoy comedy without completely, like, I mean, even Bill Burr's new special just came out.
Which is also great.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And right away, there's all this talk about canceling Bill Burr now. And it's like, are you kidding me? It's just, it's overboard is what I mean, that's why I feel it's important to have someone like you on here to be able to just talk, because I think it's important. I have not heard anybody from the other side being able to actually just come out and just talk about what happened to them. And your story is just so terrible for me personally, just to learn about it, because I personally don't believe that you did anything to deserve that kind of treatment. It's insane. It's too much. It's way overboard. What happened with Chris? What's his name from Talking Dead? And
Chris Hardwick. Yeah.
Yes, same thing. It's just like right away. It's just let's just cancel. Let's Wow, the screen's kind of glitching on. Yeah, sorry about that. We actually just got canceled by Skype, so there you go.
We're back.
We're back. All right.
You were talking about Chappelle, and I just wanted to say I did a couple videos about it, and what was so brilliant about that show is beyond just jokes. Like, you got to go back to what's that show called? Sticks and Stones, right? Yep. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's sort of the takeaway I keep sort of talking about. Just like,
genius.
I really think it was his goal to hurt everyone with words, to prove how sensitive we are as a society, and how just to point a mirror to how ridiculous it is. Like, he made that special to cancel himself, knowing he would cancel himself, and then knowing that the outpour would just be back. I think it was a brilliant move. I think it will stand as one of the best, just because it was such a timely, important piece to sort of rally people to sort of see the hypocrisies and craziness of society. And I do think will be an instrumental point of just sort of when people were like, all right, enough, he's right. It's crazy. We can't just make certain groups and say that they're not allowed to be made fun of either. It's like, beyond just his stuff on cancel culture, like his, it's just crazy now that we're supposed to, like, okay, well, we can't, the trans community is too sensitive. You can't make a joke about that right now. To me is more offensive to me of not unifying and treating of equality.
Exactly.
There's nothing. It's not like he's being offensive. It's just as an Italian, like I don't Italian jokes. I like it. We have to be able to joke. It sort of normalizes people in a way. And I think if once you start sort of putting certain groups on certain levels and saying they're untouchable, that's way more dangerous as we are, together.
Oh yeah. It was brilliant too at the beginning when he's like, I do a couple impressions, and then the second one he's like, it's you motherfuckers.
Yeah, ballsy to call out your whole audience at the beginning of a show.
Yeah, exactly. You guys suck. You're the worst. It was true. So good.
I think now is rough. I don't know how they do it.
Oh yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually getting into some comedy myself, and I've been working on some material, and one of the things is addressing the fact that, I'm a straight white male. I guess the only thing I can talk about is fucking avocado toast, rosé, and school shootings.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. That's all I can.
What we do, right?
Yeah, that's all we do.
Avocado toast is pretty damn good, though.
Yeah, I can't have it though. I found out a couple years ago that I'm allergic to it. And every time I tell someone that, they're like, "What? Allergic to how can you be allergic to
the
avocado?
Toast or the avocado?"
Avocado.
I was gonna say this is worse if it's toast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is really crazy. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you being so open and honest about all this stuff, and you've I can't even imagine what it would have been like. I mean, the only thing I can relate to a little bit was just when you were talking, I was just kind of flashing back in my mind was I was in a previous marriage for 14 years, and my ex was a part of a big church. I'm not religious or anything, but her family was like her father was a pastor. Her aunts and uncles, several of them were pastors and all board members, and I was super close with all of them. For years, I worked with them. I taught art to the kids, and super tight. And after 14 years of marriage, she just, I mean, to this day, I don't even really, to be honest, I don't really have like exact closure, like the reasoning, but basically, I try to work things out. Like, hey, we need counseling, we need therapy. Long story short, she kicked me out. And right away, I was going through divorce. So it was shocking to me, especially because I had two young girls, and I didn't want to put them through that stuff. But it is what it is. It happened. But immediately, the moment that she kicked me out, nobody, and it was a real good example of Christianity, because not one of those pastors that I spent the last 16 years in a part of their life, not one of them came up to me and asked me if I was okay. Not even my father-in-law, who was a pastor. Nobody talked to me. I was just dropped. And it didn't have anything to do with my career and all that kind of stuff that you have to deal with, but I can relate with the pain of just feeling like I literally gave over 16 years of my life to you people, and just like that, I'm nobody, That was the hardest thing to get over for me personally. It was just like who do I talk to, everyone I knew was a part of that. It was like all of a sudden I was just out,
Right.
So I can understand that frustration, but with you it was more public. Obviously, it was like out there. I mean, that's insane. Like didn't they publish something in the New York Times, right?
Oh, it was everywhere. I was on CNN. I was trending on Twitter at the moment. Yeah. It was rough.
Yeah.
You compare it though to a divorce, and it was. I mean, I was going through a real divorce, which was the worst thing part of it. What I did to my ex-wife is what still eats at me every day. Like, I'm not proud of that behavior at all.
Yeah.
Because taking me down didn't just take me down, it took my family down, and so that was hard. And so when you make that comparison, it's interesting because it's like I had a public divorce too, with all my colleagues and fans. So they sort of divorced me, and then the people who weren't wronged, have sided with the people who sort of signed me off. So it is interesting comparison. I think you're right, and going through an actual divorce and then going through a cancellation, it really is in a way they're very similar. Because you don't want to associate yourself with the wrong, right? Or the one who did the wronging, and there are a lot of correlations there, and it's just it's hard. I don't want to get too into the whole thing because and thank you for sharing, but it's like when you get into the divorce stuff, it becomes really personal. But I can share in that.
Yeah, it's not fun, man.
It's rough, and when you have kids, it's even rougher. And those are the dark days that are just hard. And I've had personal talks with fellow divorced parents, and it's a tough life. Yeah. It's good. It has its goods, pros, and it has its cons. Like you've been through it, as rough as it is. You then know, okay, well, this didn't work. How do I make sure I do it better the next time? If you actually can learn and become the better person, you can find ways to say, well, how do I fix myself, or how do I make sure I don't fall into these traps, or find someone who does this that clearly triggers me, or whatever those things are. You can educate yourself in a way. So there are goods that come from it for sure, but the betrayal, especially if there's infidelity, the heartbreak and just the loss and the time. I was married too, 16 years together, 6 years. So yeah, I get it. I relate, and that's where it all stems from. So yes, in my case, it was just even harder because I went through the real divorce, I went through the career divorce, I went through all of my friends' divorce, and it was just all at the same time. And then I moved. I mean, these are all serious. As I've learned through therapy, like these are really intense psychological moments for one of those instances to affect someone greatly, and I had to deal with it, and over the course of it, literally overnight. It was a lot to digest, and it took a while to process. And a lot of people are like, "Well, don't you wish you defended yourself earlier?" And now, in hindsight, no, because I think I still would have gotten taken out. People still would have ignored me. They still would have ghosted me. It wouldn't have mattered. No one would have worked. I still would have to go through my divorce. And I wouldn't have been mentally prepared or mature enough, which I feel like I am now. I mean, I still have a lot to learn, don't get me wrong, but I can look back on the instance and have education and knowledge now and of myself. And, when you're in that moment, it's why I do the show, The Hugging the Cactus. It's like I always sort of bring that question up as I'm talking to people, like that moment, whether you did something wrong or not, when you are down at that bottom point and rock bottom, you ask yourself, what did I do? Did I do wrong? Am I a terrible person? Am I an awful person? It's that self-reflection kicks in.
Yeah.
when you're at your lowest low. And you have to fight through it and stand up and either let it win, let the depression win, and you check out, or you just do nothing with the rest of your life, or you get back up and people inspire you and other stories inspire you. And you realize, you know what, I'm not going to just give up. This is what I want. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to earn it back. I'm going to do it with actions, not just words. And you can do it. And as I've told people, and there is light after the dark. And I see now I have a story to share in that hopefully can inspire people. And I hope to find other stories to share out there to help people find that light again, because it's so hard when you're canceled. I was talking to someone else in my show, and she says it feels like being a ghost. Like everyone you work with, nobody wants to just engage with you. They ignore you. They walk past you like you're not there. And she's spot on. It's a total great comparison. But my thing was just like, you're just live in darkness where you don't want to go out, and it's just everything's everyone's looking at you, and you're evil, and you cannot be saved. You've sinned too much, and that darkness can really just take over your mental psyche in a way that's not healthy. And so you gotta get out. Not to keep it so dark, but my recovery part was just I got out and ran. I lost some weight, and I got more. I just went outside into the sun in Florida and just got outside in nature and ran and stopped staring at my screens, and ran, looked at the trees, and would cry and would run through it and push through those emotions and feel them and make sure you're living life and pushing yourself and getting those endorphins through the natural way. And it really helped. It really helped. So if you're out there and you're having those moments, whether it's that or something, you got to find your healthy vice, if you will, to sort of help you find it.
Yeah, I did. I definitely can really. I did immediate. I wasn't a big drinker at all when that happened to me, and for some reason, I mean, I was really in a dark place, and I didn't even have a place to stay, and so I lived in my art studio. I slept on the floor of my art studio for about 4 months, but the first week or so, I was just, I don't know what, I just went to a liquor store and bought some Captain Morgan, and I just got a habit of drinking a whole thing of Captain Morgan for 3-4 days in a row, and just totally getting messed up. I had 2 huge clients that I was working for, one for a movie and one for NASCAR, and huge contracts, and I wasn't doing the work. And then my agent let me know that both of them are threatening to sue you, and I'm drinking rum all day long, and then one day I just woke up and I just snapped out of it, and I just I gotta, what am I doing, but I mean I know that moment where you have to just realize, hey, I gotta pick myself up and I have to face this, because otherwise I'm a mess right now. This is, but it's difficult when you're just faced with all of a sudden this completely different reality. That's almost you feel like an out of body experience, almost what's happening to me, the one thing I never wanted to do to my kids or put them through. That's really what what hit me was damn, this is the worst. But you have to pull through, and I think it's awesome. What you were, even what you said when you're talking about Louis C.K. is, you hope that he comes out with a special and he addresses this and brings in the humor with it, and he has to. I think part of the reason that little bit that got out from a comedy club and people were upset with him because he didn't address anything, but that was actually him working out material that wasn't. He has been
addressing it, yeah.
Yeah, and that
realize he's now takes cell phones out when you go to a show, and he's selling out smaller clubs and stuff. But yeah, no, it was that I hated that. It was so unfair.
Yeah, he's just working out. That wasn't meant to be heard by anybody. But
I think the criticism was fair, though, in that I don't really agree with it, but I'm trying to see both sides, right? But there were people who just felt like he forced himself on them by showing up, and then they didn't want to have to be the guy who leaves mid-show because they're not comfortable. And I think that was odd. I think if he had just said, "Here, I'm Louis C.K., I'm doing a bit, come or not," that probably would have been a smarter way to do it. And then, by the way, no phones. Everyone take your phones out. That's how. And now he's gotten there, but I think it was just right out the gate. He was just doing what he needs to do, which is move forward.
Yeah.
And then, of course, some triggered people are like, "Oh my God, he forced him!" You can get out. You can leave.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying about you. That I think is a really good testament to your personality and character. That's what you're doing. You are facing it. You are addressing it, and that is the only way that you can move forward. You know, otherwise you're just gonna like live under this like dark cloud for the rest of your life. And it's like, no, I mean, it's gonna be painful and frustrating, but you know, I have a lot of respect for you for doing that, because it's not easy. I mean, I can only imagine.
People are noticing. I'm glad. I was sort of my thing, because everyone was like, "Why are you getting back online? Why are you doing Twitter again? All this stuff." And I thought about it. Why am I? One, because I don't know what else to do. That's what I've literally spent my whole career, was being good at making online content, social media, all that stuff is just what I am. And now I moved to Florida, and it's like those skill sets aren't needed as much in Florida. So it's a tough game to find. And it's like, I'm underqualified for most real jobs. And then, you know, I can go get minimum wage, which I'm trying to do, but you know, it's still, I can hopefully net that out if I just can crack YouTube and some of the other things to at least try and net a minimum wage job. And it'll not make me sad in my life, and I'll have time to try and see my kids and stuff, whereas I won't the other way. So I'm trying to like navigate that real life world, which is a real struggle that a lot of people have to deal with. But you know, that's why I'm back online, because I realized, one, that's what I know, that's what I like doing. But beyond that, I needed to push through and prove, you know, just get people almost sick of me, like get through it. Like that first year, even before people knew my statement, they were rough, they were harsh, they weren't watching. And it humbled me. And I thought, you know, if I can get through this phase and then I finally drop the evidence and I have any uptick whatsoever, I'll have earned it a bit. I'll have appreciated it. And now, you know, I don't have to keep complaining. I have fans who do it for me. When someone comes at me on social media, I have a fan, God bless him, who will come defend me. Like, you're an idiot. Go watch this thing. You don't judge him. And I'm grateful for those fans. And I realized, my God, like, I'm very lucky now in a way that I've been able to rebuild and get to a point like that. And I'm so grateful to any fans of mine who will watch, or new fans who will give me the shot. But, you know, even now I still do videos where I'll sort of complain about an old story, and then they'll come back. Now my new audience is sort of already bored and over. I've gotten to the point now where they're like, shut up, Andy. Stop being a victim. Like, you don't get the right to complain anymore. And I'm just like, I sit there, I'm like, my God, I'll never. And then I'm back to reality. I'm like, you can never win. Like, you never win. You never satisfy the crowd. They're always going to get you. And so it's a new conflict I'm having where I'm like, okay, I got to a moderate level success. It's not enough to pay bills, but at least like I'm back doing what I want. And now it's like, do I want to deal with these people who just think they know better than me and tell me that I'm wrong and you don't know your stuff and screw you for having an opinion? Now I'm back. I've earned the cred now to sort of get back to the normal things that we did, even Screen Junkies with 6 million subscribers. I'd still get annoyed. We all did about, you know, that one comment that's like, you're an idiot. It always still can get at you, you know, and you want to try and, you know, I'm like, no, I don't. Tell me, I'm not an idiot. What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. There is a little bit, I think, of a creator quality where you want to be liked and you want to try and make amends. And you got to realize at a certain point, you can't win them all. You can't get there. You got to be happy with yourself. And that's what I'm trying to make sure I'm back into. And if I can get to that, find that sweet spot of not caring, you know, I want to respect my audience, of course. I love my audience, but not caring about the hate from the audience and just making sure, are you happy making your content? Then keep doing it. Are you not happy? Are you annoyed? Are you just doing whatever they ask you to do? This isn't for you. Get out of it. Find something else to do. Go be with your family. Go make a family. I'm telling you, it's a struggle, and we'll see how it nets out. And I'll come back next year to another talk, and we'll see if it was worth it. But that's where I'm currently at. I'm like, do I want to keep at this? Do I like it? Or is this annoying? Should I just go, you know, work at Walmart and just whatever? There's no shame in that, you know?
Well, I mean, I personally really enjoy your content and the stuff that you do. Like, I was listening to some a couple weeks ago. I love what you were going to some kind of, I don't know which comic convention it was, but just like, hey, should there be a female Thor? Why not? Like, convince me that there should. That, you know, I thought that was so brilliant, and it's so fun watching their reactions to this whole thing. I think it's funny, man. But it's a creative way, I think, to, you know, you've got a lot of knowledge about movies and everything. So it's really fun to see, like, you know, you interacting with these people that are just like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, of course there should be a female Thor. And I think you're saying like, yeah, but why? There's already a Thor. It's Thor. He's son of. I
challenged them to a very easy answer, which is like, yeah, it's like his name's Thor. Make her someone else.
Yeah.
Which is a very red conservative viewpoint, and people get triggered. But and I had that with a conservative friend. I had that argument where I was like, I was woke, right? I'm like, yeah, who cares? Let's just make the film. And then he talked, and he's like, there is a Thor. And I really was, he educated me a lot on that topic. And I'm like, but there's already Thor. What? Thor is a person. Why Marvel's just using the name Thor so they sell more comic books? How is that good for female equality? Why does Marvel invest in a new theme? And as soon as all that clicked in, and we talked about it, I was like, damn, you know what? You just turned me. I'm on your side. I agree. And when the fact that I knew I could turn me, I was like, well, crap, I bet you I could turn other liberals. That's what I love, when I could get a more conservative topic. Because Andrew Crowder, or Steven Crowder does those.
Oh, yeah.
I actually enjoy it because his two genders one, it's complicated. It is very complicated. And I don't want to try and argue and get in arguments, but the English language has a purpose. And, this whole they pronoun thing, I struggle with it. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I did a video the other day about someone whose pronoun is they. And it's really complicated. It's hard to describe it when you're talking about two people and you keep saying they. And it's not out of disrespect. It's just out of the use of a pronoun isn't really meant for you. It's not. It's meant for society to have a definition of multiple people. And so it's it's frustrating because it's a much more complicated subject. And if you have these complicated subjects, God forbid me, a liberal, say that I'm confused and struggling with the term. It has nothing to do with I don't want to offend you, but I'm kind of offended that you're making me change this language that's defined very clearly to now fit because you can't fit in one or the other. It's like, look, okay, I'm going to have the conversation with you. I'm not saying no, but you got to understand, I'm not ignorant or a jerk or a sexist or an asshole because I choose to challenge that and have the conversation with you. And I think we're at a society now where it's like, I'm here, I'm now they, please try, call me that, thank you. Let's talk about it. Okay, well, great, let's talk about it because I have trouble doing that sometimes. It's also really, we got to get used to it. And I don't think it's fair when people get mad at that because, I've had those conversations and I think there are smart people out there who have that, and can talk to you and say, well, this is why. And then they don't get offended if you mistake. As long as there's no malicious intent behind it, I think that's really what it's about. But now it's difficult. And that's a perfect issue where I see there's a war brewing between those two sides. And I can see both of them. I totally respect the people who want to be called they. I don't care. I want them to be happy. Whatever they want, great. But I see the other side. It's like, no, the English language means something. And I am annoyed and perturbed that I have to move my belief system just because you now have made this new thing up. It's a very complicated It's a very complicated topic. And a lot of people don't even want to admit what I'm admitting because then you seem transphobic or whatever the things. You're just immediately labeled a monster. And the reality, though, is it's really complicated. And Steven Crowder, when he did his two genders, he had a lot of sane points. And it's like, no, we need to define what these things are. Otherwise we could define ourselves as horses. From a legal standpoint, it does get a little crazy. And if we just open up the floodgates, there can be really big consequences.
Well, yes.
So that's why it's complicated.
And even back to the Thor thing, it's my feeling on that whole thing is, hey, there is a Thor character already, and you brought it up too that isn't it more respectful and more pro women to come up with a really awesome, strong, new, creative character rather than just riding on the coattails of this other character? It's it's if anything, that's just belittling women. You can't come up with something good enough. So, there's Spider-Girl now or Supergirl. It's is there a Wonder Man? Why isn't there no Wonder Man? Because you have this Wonder Woman character who's just so strong. Is there really?
I don't think it's Wonder Woman though, but I think there is a Wonder Man.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I just think that she's a strong, solid character. Yeah, she's a strong character, and she was created, to be this strong character. And they did make her look like a, call girl prostitute or whatever, but but still, she has that lasso of truth,
She does. Invisible plane. I'm
but
trying
it just,
to fact check you guys are talking to see if there's a one.
Oh, okay. But I kind of just feel like, it's more respectful to women to actually care enough to create some awesome new story, new character that, without just, Batwoman, or whatever. It's just come on, we've got Batman. We don't need Batwoman. Is it?
Man.
Wonder Man. Oh my God.
Marvel.
That's hilarious.
There he is. I knew it. I thought he's got flight,
it's Marvel?
superhuman strength, teleportation, healing factor. Yeah, he's a Marvel character. Interesting.
So it has nothing to do then with Wonder Woman.
Apparently fighting a dinosaur. Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's got red eyes. Wonder Man. So,
but he's not affiliated with DC though. So
no, he's not a Wonder Woman version of man. He's just Wonder Man.
That's so
Marvel
funny.
probably thought, you know what? They have Wonder Woman. I bet you we could do Wonder Man. We'll buy that name.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because it's they have a Shazam was Captain Marvel, and that was
that's
DC. Cool. So they've always been competing with each other. Anyway, but yes, the point is that there's a lot of controversy. Things are complicated, and sometimes it's not always left or right. And just because the right or the left disagree doesn't make them racist, sexist, transphobic, etc. And that's the real why I've become a centrist, as I've been labeled. It's just like, you got to be able to hear both sides or we're in trouble, because, I was a very anti-Trump person, like really, really anti-Trump, and got blocked by Trump and all this stuff. And I still am not a fan of Trump, to be honest. But I started talking to people who voted for Trump so I could try and understand. And then you realize, oh, these people aren't idiot racists, like as I thought they were in my old life. These are smart people who just wanted to mess up. They're sick of politics, and they wanted someone who was going to come in and really mess it up. And they enjoy that he's sort of making it a circus. So when you realize, like, and then they'll admit, yeah, I wish he'd get off Twitter. Of course he's a sleaze. Like, they'll admit these things that bothered me, and just sort of have their own beliefs. And so, this idea of like you can't support him. If you support him, you support children in cages. It's just it's always one version of extreme or the other that has turned me more into like, I can't just say I'm a woke liberal anymore. Like, I do believe, obviously, children shouldn't be in cages. I believe a lot of very liberal things.
Well, yeah. Then a lot of people ignore the fact that those systems were set up by Obama way before Trump. And it's like
exactly. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Yeah. So, anyways, I want to do something fun before I end up showing you some fan work, and if you want to do this. But it is now time for Serious Questions with Jason Seiler. Now, I think I've heard you talk about this movie before, and I wanted to talk with you because this is a chance to talk with a movie guy about movies, so we can have a little bit more fun than all the dark stuff that we've been talking about.
Good, I love
it. I am a huge Batman fan. Ever since I was a kid, my favorite character, that's one of the main characters I started drawing. And so when it comes to movies, not just the story writing is important, but also the visuals and so on. And here's the thing. I love the Christian Bale Batman movies. As a trilogy, I enjoy them. I think the second one's my favorite by far, with Heath Ledger. But to me, he was a great Batman. He was a good Bruce Wayne, but he seemed more like a Navy SEAL type Batman. He's got, he's more thin and not bulky. He's not the big Batman that I grew up with in the comics and everything. He was a good Batman, and I couldn't stand the like kind of, that was the one thing. I'm not wearing hockey pads. Yeah, I'm not wearing hockey pads. It just is like a little bit too crazy. But anyways, I get a lot of shit from people because I actually like the Batman versus Superman movie, the Ultimate Edition, not the actual theater.
I've seen them both.
Yeah, I like the Ultimate Edition the best. Now, there's definitely problems with the movie, but here's my question.
Hey, good.
Yeah, here's my question.
It's like a Trump supporter saying, "Yeah, you shouldn't be on Twitter."
Yeah.
Now we can talk civilly.
Yeah. So I'll tell you first why I like that movie, and then I'll ask my question. So what I like about it is, overall, I thought Ben Affleck, like, visually, I liked the way that he looked as Batman. Not in Justice League. I was not a fan of that movie. But the Batman vs Superman, for example, just the way he looks was one thing that I liked. He was big, he was huge. He looked, and then the first scene you see him where he's like, up in that like dark building when he's got the guy, tied to the radiator and everything, and you see him crawl on the ceiling. I was like, oh, that's what I've been waiting for years. He was scary. And then, of course, the very end, little things like even when he was fighting Superman and he's just dragging him over, like he's a dead deer. There was just so many visuals that I was like, this is so badass. And then at the very end when he's fighting all those guys in the warehouse and he's just, that whole fight scene, I watched that movie just for that because I'm like, there's my Batman. Of course, he kills people, which Batman doesn't kill people in the comics. So there's issues with that. But anyways, love it, hate it. What do you think about that movie and why? Just because I think it's interesting.
I think you listed the only good part about it. I didn't mind that. I also didn't mind that Batman was killing people. I think that's a debate that I think.
Yeah.
Of course he has. Like, it's impossible to sort of do some of the things he does. And in every movie he has. He was doing it in Batman Returns with Tim Burton. Like so you got it. So that doesn't bother me. I don't think he's going after trying to, but any of those movies, the Avengers kill people. Everyone's killing people. My problem with Batman v Superman was more Superman, and I felt it was rushed. And the problem, it's like I didn't like Man of Steel, and then as time has progressed, I'll give Man of Steel a little bit more of a pass now, especially compared to the other ones. But this whole, I like Henry Cavill. I like visually it was good, but Zack Snyder just took it into this weird mopey version, emo Superman and it's not my Superman. But beyond, okay, so Snyder's making his own. I just think he missed a big part of, saving people. And it's like Man of Steel is the perfect example, and I think it continued through Batman v Superman. Imagine that scene at Man of Steel. Did you like Man of Steel?
I enjoy it, but I think that. I agree with it's kind of, I would like to see again, like Justice League. I didn't think that was that great of a movie, but I liked Superman more in that movie, especially towards the end when he's smiling and he's like saving people and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It started when Joss Whedon took over. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem of like Superman to me. And imagine that end scene with Man of Steel where he and Zod are just become a CGI bullet. It's like Matrix Revolutions where Neo's fighting Agent Smith. It's just like, I've seen it, and they almost did it better in Revolutions in a bad movie, but they did. That was sort of a Superman finale, and then they did it, but it just sort of had no stakes. I didn't care. It's like when you have two just strong people fight each other. Imagine that scene though, and Superman has got to save people through it.
Yeah.
And then you got Superman, right? That's a movie, and they just
that would have changed it because he's in the middle of saving people while he's fighting. This dude.
That is friggin' Superman, guys. I don't care how emo, whatever. Like if you don't have this intent where he sees the kid in jeopardy, and then Zod's like you keep it dark. Cool, I'm not opposed to dark, but like the struggle of Superman having to save the kid and then that's a bigger struggle. I mean, let the kid die and that can make Superman go dark, whatever you got. But my point is there was no struggle. They're just bashing through buildings without any consequence or attempt to save. And that's not Superman. I'm sorry, it's not. You can go with your own dark version, but he lost the core part of like Superman's good. And then so mindful, it's important to set up the tone because Superman's good and Batman's morally questionable, right? And so that's where the two butt heads. And so the problem is like that build-up of Superman versus Batman, dude, I've been waiting for that forever. Like people say I'm a Marvel head and I hate DC. Dude, I love DC. Marvel, Batman and Superman are like the best comics. Even The Flash, like Wonder Woman. DC's got Marvel crazy, but on a movie standpoint, they crushed it. But my point is like that build-up was so amazing, and it's like I just felt like they rushed to it. They squandered it. They shouldn't have introduced Batman in that movie. It was just stupid. They should have made, a standalone. I loved when Bruce Wayne saw, the carnage of Man of Steel. I was like, okay, cool. Actual real stakes that would make sense why Batman's pissed. That was good. Still think they could have had him save some kids that no one noticed. My point is and then it felt rushed and unfounded, and there was no grasp of Superman. And then they were trying to find Batman, and they sort of found him. And so bottom line is when they finally got to the showdown, it was a cool sequence, but it wasn't earned. And a showdown like that needs to be earned in my point. And it would have been, like what I think Civil War did, right? And that scene, the airport scene. Come on, you can hate it all you want, but I was a 7-year-old kid when that scene came out. I was like, oh my God, this is so fun. Look, there's Spider-Man. Holy crap. And it was just fun. I turned my brain off and I had a blast.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted in Superman or Batman. And then add to that, you had Lex Luthor, who I just thought was terrible. I thought Jesse Eisenberg was just missed the mark. And then you had Martha. And then they shoot in Wonder Woman, which they didn't need to do. And then the Doomsday finale was just like, what? Huh? The whole thing was just a mess.
I think for me, the movie is like, it's, what do you call it? When you have like it's my God, I can't even think of the words. Comfort movie, or it's my little secret. Like I can't even think of what I'm trying to say.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. There you go. It's my guilty pleasure because every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I don't understand why they're doing this, but it's just I enjoy. It's like I enjoy enough just to see those characters together in a movie. It could have been better. I don't actually even mind the Martha part. I get why people are annoyed by it. But I also get, like, I think about it like, okay, if I was reading this as a kid in a comic book and there was that scene, it would have been like, oh, it would have made more sense. I've seen stuff way lamer and cheesier written in comics than that. So it didn't bother me as much. I think
They didn't need the Martha scene. Lois Lane
Yeah.
being there was enough, and Superman being dead, and then Batman choosing not to kill, and seeing, there could have been a moment there where they could have done it, but the Martha was just such a cheesy.
It was. Yeah.
Why would Superman say Martha? Like it. Why did you say that name?
Yeah. Why did you say that? Why?
It was just.
Well, my interpretation of that whole thing is that up to that point, and this is how the movie set this up, not how the characters should have been, but the movie set it up where up to that point, Batman doesn't think of Superman as a human. He thinks of him as this very dangerous alien that he doesn't think is good for the planet. And then all of a sudden he sees that, oh my gosh, there's this woman that cares about him, and he's got a mother, and same name as my mom.
But you lost me, right? The 2 points before, same name as my mom, that was enough. The same name as my mom was like one of those things that happened in a writer's room. You're like, oh, dude, did you realize that Batman and Superman both have a mom named Martha? And then someone's sitting there like, no way. You're shitting me. Hold, put that in the movie. That's a twist. And it just felt like that. They were so sure that was like, fans were like, oh, shit, he's right. Both of them have Martha. And it just came out so tacky and out of nowhere.
But I think again, the guilty pleasure thing, the reason why I forgive it is because I love that warehouse fight scene that's right after that. I'm like, let's go to that scene. I love that scene.
It'd be fun. And seeing Batman like that is fun. But I don't know. Imagine if they had made a Batman movie first.
Yeah.
If Batman v Superman was just Batman, and it did a cool, dark Ben Affleck being this criminal. Like,
I would have loved that. Yes.
And it would have been a movie that probably would have done well. Fans wouldn't have been so pissed. They would have established Batman. And then, instead of Justice League, they had done Batman versus Superman. And that way you had Man of Steel, you had Batman, and then you had Batman versus Superman.
That's where they screw up next to Marvel.
Woman, and then Wonder Woman. Like, there was so much potential to make that work, and they squandered it because Warner was like, and that's why I don't like those movies, because I see it as just a filmmaker. Warner's was so nervous about Avengers that they were like, no, we got to hurry up. We got to get them faster, get them all together. And and then they didn't even give Snyder like the keys. They like half-assed it and kept making Snyder change it. And I while I was hard on Snyder, I realized I should apologize to him because he wasn't being able to do what he wanted. And at least I would have rather seen his vision and do what he wanted and gone full dark and everything else than everybody half-assing it. So anyway, that's
Well, and like, I mean, that's again why I like the Ultimate Edition more, because they did show more Superman in that. Like after the court scene,
they did.
There's a little bit, he's like investigating the stuff, but then he, after the explosion, he's like saving people, bringing them out. They didn't show that in the regular version, which makes no sense. Like, of course, you want to show Superman saving people, but they didn't do that. But anyways,
Henry Cavill got screwed as Superman. It's a big bummer, and it's under other directors and writers. They had he was good. He was great, and there are parts of Man of Steel. That scene where Man of Steel, where Diane Lane is fantastic in Man of Steel. Yeah. And that scene where she's stuck in the closet and she's talking, like, it breaks my heart. Like, those moments where you go dark and real with Superman, where it actually worked. Like, the trailer to Man of Steel is beautiful. But then Man of Steel just got lost in its own weight, and he lost the point of Superman. And had Superman struggle with that challenge of the struggles he was doing, but then realizing the write-up, I got to save these people in that building, the movie's 10 times better. It would have been. Yeah. He would have saved, people would have been on their feet watching as he's fighting. That Zod scene would have been interesting. And otherwise, it just became I was like bored. I was desensitized to the violence and the building crashing. And I'm like, I looked at my watch during that
crazy.
Scene, and it's supposed to be like amazing, like, oh my God. I didn't care.
And you're right.
That's the problem with all movies. We've become desensitized in all action movies. It's all becomes that third act is just sort of, okay, whatever. Usually third acts suck because I'm like, they're all just resorting to this big finale that I don't need.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I totally agree. And again, I really like your perspective on that. Like, that really would have made that movie so much better is if while he's in this fight, he's saving people here and there. I mean, that would have been that's.
Then Zod grabs one of the kids and threatens to throw him off the boat. Stakes.
Yeah, all of a sudden the movie is so much better. I mean, you're right. You're totally right. Anyways,
at the end with like the laser beam and he's trying to kids in the corner, and that's why Superman does break the neck. But it would have been better had we had that led up to it a few moments before then. It was just very forced at the very end when he realizes, wow, I guess I should have Superman saved somebody. Okay, let's do it. He's about to kill Zod. I don't want to go there. We could go for an hour on this topic. I'm sure people will be bored.
No, it's fun. I think this is fun. So anyways, that was great to hear your perspective on that. It was really cool. And I agree with you. It's just a guilty pleasure for me. I like to have some popcorn, some wine, and watch me some Batman and Superman. But
I can't shame your guilty pleasures. Hey, whatever works.
Anyways, that was Serious Questions with Jason Seiler. All right.
You just wanted to have a movie fight.
Yeah, just a little bit of a movie fight there. No, because it's funny. I can't really, because I agree with you completely, and I know it already. It's like 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 the Last Jedi, right? There's so many things wrong with that movie, but again, there are some things in that movie visually where like I like to watch. Like I'll skip to certain scenes just because I like to see.
Don't start me. Don't start me.
I know.
If you want to argue, I will argue why that movie sucks.
No, I know.
But you're right. Visually, yeah, the scene with Rey and Kylo, visually good. And even Luke at the end, visually, sure.
But what's going on, contextual, like there's a lot of things that don't make sense.
Movie.
Yeah. No, trust me, I get it. So real quick, you don't have that much more time, and I want to show you some fan work. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and these are fans from all over the place.
Wow, fans actually did this?
Yeah, I just put out there like, hey, you guys want to do a drawing or painting of Andy?
I'm honored.
So we'll flip through. Tell me if you see, you still see me?
Me.
You see this?
Yeah. Oh wow! Look at that.
Okay, cool. So this is the first one.
Oh my God, I'm so old. It does look like me.
This is by Jason Williams.
Wow, love it. It's really good detail. He's good. I love the hair work too.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's fun. I never know. It's always a surprise to me too, like what people send in. So it's pretty cool. There's a little
my God, love it. It's comic book guy.
Yeah.
Old comic book guy, but I still love it.
And this is Jason Church.
Thankfully, I've lost a little bit of that weight, but still, I love it. That's really fun.
And I'll send you these, by the way. So
yeah, I'd love to use these.
This is Jason Church did this one, and this one is by Adita Bahasser.
Oh wow, is that charcoal?
You know what? I think it's actually a digital painting. It's just
really good.
Using some texture in there. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, these are really talented artists.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's really cool. This one was sort of funny. This is by Load Up the Beak. This actually looks like somebody else that I'm trying to. I don't know who I'm thinking of, but this looks like somebody else I know.
Yeah, I dig it. It's a fun caricature.
Yeah.
Everyone's giving me that swoop hair. I gotta get my swoop hair back. Just that one image, but I always try. Oh yeah.
This one's
my shirt.
Yeah, this is a sexy one.
Castaway?
Yeah. It's like tied in the back. Yeah, this is by Andy Ellis. I don't know what reference he was using for this one, but
it feels like Where the Wild Things Are. Like I'm like, hey guys, here I am.
Oh, that's true.
It, it's kind of fun.
Totally looks like that. You're right. Where the Wild Things Are with Andy Signore. That's awesome. That would be perfect to have like some of those creatures there in the background.
Behind me? Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
This one is by, oh my gosh. I really have a hard time with this person's name. They've submitted several times. I can't say the last name at all, so I don't even have it on there. I'll try to say it. It's Quavenzani. I have no idea. I can't say it, but
you better than me. I'm so bad with names too. But yeah, I love it. But I'm still. I hope this is like love of my new fans and not making fun of me flirting with my old fans.
Yeah.
But no, it's very cute.
And this one is by Pure Pregent.
Oh yeah, he took my Florida picture. I love that Florida picture. That's my. I have a photo of me with a flamethrower and all these bikini girls, and it's like this is me. Hello, I'm in Florida. I was on a shoot, but yeah, he took that. I love this. This is fun.
It's awesome.
I got to use that for my Change My Mind videos.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. Perfect. This one is by Adi Hajjaj Brahim. I know I said that wrong, so I apologize.
Yeah, it's good. I often walk around with a sign on my shirt.
Yeah, he kind of looked like Pavarotti or something in this one. Yeah. Whoa. All right. This one is by Lars Eric Robinson.
Oh, wow, I look like Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. Get rid of the mustache.
Yeah, I like that one.
Hat.
Be excellent to each other. Yeah. Party on, dudes.
Yeah. This is the last one. This is by Laurent Grasat.
I love that style. It's so cool. So these are all digital now. It's incredible how you can get like handwork done with digital. I'm really very honored, all of you. Good job. These are really flat. I'm so impressed. It's so fun. It's just such good art. Yeah, if any of them will allow me to show them, I will definitely use some of those. Those are fun.
Yeah,
Thank you, man. Thank you,
no
all
problem.
of you guys.
I'll send those to you. They're named with the person's named, so the files are, so you can know their name. But yeah, it's interesting. The digital stuff is crazy. I was just at Lightbox in Pasadena. It's a huge art expo, and Adobe gave me their new thing for their iPad. It's a beta test for a new program that you can draw with iPad Pro. Oh, I think you're frozen. Are you there? I don't know if you heard the last thing I was saying, but I was just talking about how Adobe gave me this like new program to beta test. It's for an iPad Pro, and basically I've only played with it a little bit, but it would blow your mind. They have like oil brushes that actually act like oil paint, like they're wet, and it's programmed in there. Like if you want, you can set how long it stays wet for, and you can work into it, and then you can also set a certain time for when it dries, and then you can't work into it.
So as an artist, does that scare you, or that just you think that's so cool that you're like, screw it?
No. I mean, I've been doing digital painting for a long time. I do digital painting basically for publication and editorial, movie posters, whatever. And so, but for me, I don't want I don't like abusing the computer. I want it to be used as a tool for art. And as long as I can create art and it feels like my work, then it's great. But I don't want computers to do art for me. That's the thing.
Right.
I want to be able to use it as a tool. Because I do oil painting and everything else. But I want to be able to have the same voice in my digital work as my traditional work. But there are some things about it that do bother me when there's things about digital stuff I see people doing all the time where it's like, wow, you're almost letting this program create this, So I try to keep everything when I work digitally. I try to keep it to the very, very basics, where I'm basically just using a paintbrush, and I hardly use layers or anything like that.
Is that what you're still sort of keeping that? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I know you got to get going. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk and just be open and honest about this.
Dude, thanks for having me and let me tell my side. It's been really hard. If anybody else out there is inspired and wants to put me out there, I'm just trying to get the story out there, and people can go support go to Uncancelled. It's with one L. Uncancelled.com to learn about my Hugging the Cactus project. I have a GoFundMe set up now because the Kickstarter was met. But I still could use some more funds to really do above and beyond.
Yeah.
And you can learn about it there. The trailer got pulled, which was annoying. I'm working on that, trying to get that reinstated. Some jerk did that. But you can still learn a lot about the project. And then Popcorn Planet is my YouTube channel where they can find me or hit me up on social. But thanks to everybody listening for you giving me the time. It really means a lot. And always here if you need anything else.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. And for anyone watching,
your art, I love your work, man. You sent it to me early on, and you were always a fan, and I loved it. And the mad stuff you sent me was so fun. So yeah, kudos to you and all your work. I love it. I'd love to stay in touch. I followed. I can't wait to see what else you make. But keep it up, man.
Yeah, I will for sure. I appreciate that, man. And for anybody listening who has not liked or subscribed to this podcast, get off your ass and do it. Okay. So
yes,
we'll see y'all soon. And thanks so much for joining me.